Hello, everyone, and Dr. White here. I know it's been a while since you've seen me or heard me, but I thought since we were beginning to move into the second part of the course, it would be helpful to make an appearance and transition us into the rest of our work for this semester. So, what I'm going to do in this video is give you a brief overview of the revised schedule via the syllabus, and I'm going to take these off since it was reflecting off of my glasses there. Hi. I'm going to take you through the syllabus and show you what we're going to be doing the rest of the semester, and then I'll show you how to find it on Blackboard. It may not all be up there yet, but it will be very, very, very shortly. So to give you the once over, first of all, let's take a look here at our syllabus. That is not the syllabus, that would be the course page. Okay, so if you look at the syllabus, I've made some revisions to it yet again, and what we're doing is I'm starting it. I'm starting Essay 2. Hi, I forgot that I disappeared. I'm starting Essay 2 formally now, which would be November 14th as I record this. And that's strictly because I want to get up there for you where we are and what we're doing. I know that we haven't finished Essay 1 yet, but I also know that it's coming up really soon and that it's due soon. So I want to give you a heads up about what's coming down the pike. So the first thing you want to notice would be the Essay 1 due date. I've bumped it back a little bit further to Wednesday, November 21st. That's going to be the final draft that's due of there. Now, some of you are going to get feedback a little bit later than others, but don't worry about that because I do need you to act on it. But if you write a final draft for this course and you are interested in putting it in a portfolio for the WPE, we can certainly work with the reader's report regardless of where it initially begins, as long as it, well, I should say regardless, as long as it begins with a 6 anyway, we can revise it up to potentially something we can include. So in that sense, you'll be getting feedback on the final draft as well. You'll notice that that'll be due Wednesday, the 21st of November, and I'll get a quick turnaround on those for you guys, I promise. You'll also notice that we have 4 readings here for Essay 2. The Eileen Pollack, the Pinker-Spelke debate, the Sessi et al., and the Moss-Racusina. And you'll notice I have one due date for these, which is December 2nd, 9 a.m. So that's going to be reading sheets for all 4 of those readings. Now, the 4 readings, we're going to follow this just like we did with Essay 1, where you do the reading sheets. What we're not going to do, because I don't want to make you do more work, and I think that the reading sheets are pretty good, is we're not going to do the Google discussion again. I think that that's in an ideal world we would, but the semester's been kind of cramped, and I think that you guys got a little more out of the reading sheets, so we're going to do it that way. So, your reading sheets will be due Monday, December 2nd at 9 a.m. Your draft will be due the following week at Monday the 9th at 9 a.m. Your peer review will be due Friday the 13th of December, and then your final draft of Essay 2 will be due December 19th at 9 a.m. Now, that final draft of Essay 2 is a hard deadline because I need to get grades in, so unfortunately, I can't change that. Regarding Unit 2, Essay 2, though, here, you'll notice that we're not doing all of what are called the scaffolding exercises, those short activities that I had you do for Essay 1. We're not doing those, 1, because of time, 2, because the assumption is now that you have completed those activities, you know how to do those things on your own, and you can go back and you can reuse the resources, you can repeat the process. You don't quite need that same level of assistance that you did with Essay 1 with the small stuff leading up to it. So what I'm going to do now is click over to the course page here. Hi. And I'll walk you through what I've done. So you notice on the left-hand side of the screen where I'm moving my cursor around, I've split the weekly sessions into 2 parts, Essay 1 and Essay 2. So if you go to Essay 1, make sure I can be visible to you here. I want you to be able to see me. So if you notice Essay 1, it runs through weeks 7 and 8, and of course if we click on this, you get all of that stuff. And if we go over here to final draft submission links, there's your Essay 1 final draft submission link. So the Essay 1 weekly sessions really lead you everything up to the final draft, which is here in final draft submission links. And again, it's all the stuff we did leading up to it. Week 6, of course, included the paragraph stuff and the quotation integration. So we don't need to retread that. What I wanted to really show you is Essay 2 weekly sessions here. I've split it into what are basically our two parts. I have to set one still up, I think, for the last week, although that may just be the submission link. So weeks 10 to 12 get their own folder because we're kind of in that already, and it is pretty straightforward, I think. I guess I can take down one of those. You don't need 5 reading sheets, you need 4. What do we have? The first thing you'll see is Women in Science reading set and essay question. And if you click there, you'll see 2 links. One, why are there still so few women in science? And what should happen? Magically, here is your reading set. The other link here is essay question for Women in Science. You click that, and you magically should get, yay, there it is, the essay question. Now, what I want to do briefly while I have your attention is walk you through this essay set to help you understand a little bit of what we're actually looking at. Because this is something that with this unit in the past has been a little bit of a challenge. And I want to make sure that we are kind of well positioned to handle that challenge. So the first thing I'm going to do is download it so it's a little bit easier to view. And then once I get that done, let me find it. There we go. All right. So why are there still so few women in science? And let's take a look at the essay and how it's set up. So the first thing you'll see in the reading set is a table of contents. This tells you that there are four readings here. The first is an article by Eileen Pollack from 2013 called "Why Are There Still So Few Women in Science?" We'll see that it was published in the New York Times Magazine on October 3rd, 2013, and was accessed 2015 to make this reading set. So that tells us right away it's a New York Times Magazine article. So something to consider about that. What do we know about the New York Times? It's a publication, it's a newspaper, and it's a very reliable, what we would call publication of record. The New York Times exists to document the events of the day for the people of New York and to raise important questions about big issues that affect a lot of people. So when you're reading a source from there, like this essay by Eileen Pollack, and I wonder if we can actually, okay, we can't view the link. Let's see what, I wonder if this link still works. Let's see what we get into. Forgive my multiple browser windows. All right, well, I didn't get the whole link. Let's see if I can do this one more time. I'd really like to get the whole link here. Okay. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So let's take a look at this in the New York Times Magazine. Why are there still so few women in science? And what do we get? We get a provocative image. The only woman in attendance was Madame Curie at 1927, this conference. And you can kind of get a sense here for what this reading looks like in its natural habitat. One of the kind of challenging features of the WPE reading sets is that they take the readings out of what I would call their natural habitats, where they live organically online. And what can be helpful about seeing it online, it's a little bit prettier, just to use that word, it's a little prettier, a little easier to read. But it also should give you a sense for who the audience is. And if you think about, if we even just look at the way that this page looks, what you'll see is that it is reading. It's text, right? There's not a lot of images. There's some ads, but that's it. We have a picture of Meg Urey, professor of physics and astronomy at Yale, along with a profile of her. So what are we learning from the way it looks and why this is important? One, there's a lot of substance here. There's a lot of content. This is long, right? So what that tells you is that it's the main piece in the reading packet, right? It's the main piece in the reading packet. This, just like waters in the first one, this is kind of the main thing to focus on. Also, with these wonderful images of our female scientists or women in science, it tells you that this is an article that's appealing to your emotions a little bit. We want to see the faces of the women who are entering a male-dominated field and are breaking ground. We want to learn more about how they're doing it, and we want to relate to them as people, not just as names on a page, right? They matter. They have lives, just like all of you do. So we're looking at this here. Okay, there's the overview, and you'll see the pattern, right? Woman in science, discussion about it. We're trying to put a human face on an abstract question. That's what I really want you to take from this, is that this reading is attempting to characterize, personify the movement to get more women into science and to profile some of the challenges in it. So I just encourage you to kind of investigate the sources of these readings as well a little bit, because they look a lot different when they're there. All right, back to the reading set, and I'll vanish for a minute here. What else do we have? We have a debate between Steven Pinker and Elizabeth Spelke called The Science of Gender and Science, a Debate. Now, let's scroll through here to take a look at the Pinker-Spelke reading, because this is an important one. Okay, we scroll up to the Pinker-Spelke reading. Let's look at it. So the way this is structured, we have Steven Pinker. Now, we know this is a debate. What does the word debate mean? A word debate means that we're going to have two positions, two sides of it. So what we need to do is identify what is Steven Pinker's argument. And let me zoom in a little bit here for you. So, Steven Pinker's argument, and you'll have to read this to, of course, get to the point of it, would be this. Steven Pinker's argument would basically be here. In cases where there are differences, there are as many instances in which women do slightly better than men, do slightly better than women, and then he follows it up with the punchline. There are at least 6 differences relevant to the data we've been discussing. So Steven Pinker, he's not really explicitly stating his argument, but what he's getting to is the idea that there is a difference intrinsically between men and women. There's a biological difference between men and women in their natural aptitude for science, and that's what leads to here you go. Here's Pinker's argument. I think there's more than a shred of evidence for sex differences that are relevant to statistical gender disparities in the elite hard science department. So gender disparities, that means there's more men than women in science because of sex differences. So biological difference. So nothing we do, biology. And then you go down to Elizabeth Spelke, and remember, it's a debate. So what do we think is going to happen if it's a debate? We think that Spelke is going to disagree with Pinker, right? We need to ask what's common across the two sexes. One thing that is common is infants don't divide up the labor in understanding the world, with males focusing on mechanics and females focusing on emotions. Male and female infants are both interested in objects and people, and they learn about both, right? So what is she saying? She's saying, no, there is no biological difference. So it's important to understand that they disagree with each other. Our third reading here would be Women in Academic Science, A Changing Landscape. And this is a short synthesis, okay, of empirical findings and logical analysis informing the question of why women are underrepresented in certain academic fields of science. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're going to synthesize analyses here, right? So if you're interested in a data source, a source where you can draw information from and you can use it to contextualize the arguments of Pinker or Spelke, or if you want to maybe contextualize some of the Eileen Pollack profile piece by saying, what do the studies actually tell us about women in science, this would be the source to go to. And lastly, this piece, the science faculty subtle gender biases favor male students. What does this do? This is a short excerpt of a current study. So this would be an actual scientific study that has been abbreviated for our reading purposes. So this is another piece of kind of empirical findings. So what do we get then with this reading set? And I'm going to reappear because I want to reappear. Hi. So what we get with this reading set from top to bottom, we get 4 published pieces. We get a long essay, went too fast. We get a longish essay exploring, well, what does the title say? Why are there still so few women in science? So we get a long essay exploring why there's still so few women in science. Kind of trying to do the kind of work that we're trying to do, to be honest. If you want to use a model, you could model your writing on Spelky's. Then we get a debate. 2 people, Pinker and, that was Pollack, Pinker and Spelky, who have different views on it. Pinker says there are biological reasons that men are better than women at science. Spelky says there are not. We have a changing landscape here, which would be the synthesis from Sessi et al. So remember, this is an empirical study, so if you want information, just pure facts, that would be a place to go. And then at the bottom here, you have another factual source. So what do you get? You get 2 sources that are primarily concerned with facts, information. And then you get a long kind of personal view about it from Eileen Pollack. And then you get a long debate between Pinker and Spelky. So you can think of these sources and how you might use them in your essay. The debate should be the fundamental question that you're entering into, because if we look at the actual essay question, which lives here, if you look at the actual essay question, what you'll see is you have this option. Do you agree with Pinker that there is more than a shred of evidence for sex differences that are relevant to statistical gender disparities in elite hard science departments? If yes, why? If no, why not? So what that tells you is you need to enter into a conversation with Pinker and Spelky, pick a side, and then you can draw on the other 3 sources for evidence. So you're weighing a question, and you have a lot of evidence at your disposal. So you need to act like a judge almost and figure out what you think. So that's the gist of this assignment. And I know that that kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, so I apologize for the focus there. So if we go back to the coursework here with SA2 weekly sessions, you'll see that with weeks 10 to 12, I have 5 reading sheets, 1 for each of the articles, and there are 2 actually for Pinker and Spelky. I'm treating those as 2. That's why there are 5. I'll clarify these in the titles. You have to watch this video, and then you have to do the reading sheets. And I haven't finished setting up week 13 yet, but when you go in here, you'll see, first of all, there's a guided reading on quotation integration help, something that based on some of your drafts from Essay 1, I think we might need some support with. And I'm going to add the draft and peer review and final draft submission links here as well. So that's where we are in the course. We're starting Essay 2 soon. I know you're still wrapping up Essay 1, and I'm going to end this lecture now so I can keep getting you guys feedback on that. Thanks a lot for your time, and good luck with everything that we're doing.